and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed. Welcome to Worldview 2's Washington Report on this January 20th, 2026. I'm joined by my co-host Jim Pfaff of theconservativecaucus.com. Jim, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
Good, good. We have the World Economic Forum going on. I think President Trump is supposed to have some meetings while he's there on Greenland, and as well as some other issues with some world leaders. So we'll keep covering it. It looks like I don't really have a soundbite to play, but Emmanuel Macron decided to come out with sunglasses. I guess for some medical reason. I think he's just trying to look cool, maybe.
Yeah, no, I think he's just trying to look cool.
Yeah.
He's not cool, so he needs to try to look cool. Do you have the Gavin Newsom piece I sent you?
I do have the Gavin Newsom piece. You want to start with that?
Good. Yeah, let's do that. I mean, but by the way, before you say that, the World Economic Forum's meeting, everything's going to be fine now. These are all the smart people that are going to help us live our lives, right? I mean, It's going to help us all out, isn't it?
Man. Well, Gavin Newsom has some advice for world leaders. Here we go.
Newsom, do you have a message for Europeans who are concerned about the messages from the White House around Greenland this week?
Yeah, it's time to buck up. It's time to get serious and stop being complicit. It's time to stand tall and firm, have a backbone. I've seen this in the United States, the supine Congress playing both sides, saying one thing on a text or a tweet and another publicly. It's time to have principle. It's time to stand tall and strong.
Does that mean responding with tariffs?
It's time to stand united. You make that determination. I don't make that determination.
But when you say standing tall, what do you mean?
I can't take this complicity. People rolling over. I should have brought up a bunch of knee pads for all the world leaders. I mean, handing out crowns and this is pathetic. Nobel Prizes, they are being given away. I mean, it's just pathetic. And I hope people understand how pathetic they look on the world stage. I mean, at least from an American perspective, it's embarrassing.
So what should Europe be doing?
You should decide, the Europeans should decide for themselves what to do. But one thing they can't do is what they've been doing. And they've been playing. This guy's playing folks for fools. And it's embarrassing.
Europeans think this is diplomacy and this will ultimately
this is
work.
Diplomacy with Donald Trump? He's a T-Rex. You mate with him or he devours you. One or the other.
And Europe's being devoured?
People need to stand. No, the Europeans could be if they continue down this path and process. They need to stand tall, stand firm, stand united.
I think Trump should run with that. He's a T-Rex.
Well,
I was missing the hand signals, though. I don't know where those went. I was hoping.
Yeah, and it's the small hands on the T-Rex. Hey, by the way, you know what he's saying? He's saying one of two things. He's not saying anything about Donald Trump. What he is saying is that if he were to become president, he is either going to turn things around and go into the same position that his crass reference to knee pads refers to, or he's going to be hitting a brick wall when he wants to assert himself if he were to become president. In other words, this is the problem. Democrats want to be Europeans. Actually, they don't quite want to be Europeans. They don't want to be that good. They want to be Maoist communists, but that's what they really aspire to. But for now, hey, being European would be pretty good. A little censorship here and there, a little high taxation, shutting out industries that you don't like, going back to the Green New Deal so you can grab up power over more people. I mean, everything that he said is entirely related to this Democrat lust for power. They have a lust for power. It's not just this thing where, we want to just kind of put ourselves in a place where we can constantly win elections or whatever. In fact, elections, particularly come from Gavin Newsom, elections don't mean anything to them. They're not about elections. They appoint Kamala Harris. They don't elect her through the normal process of nomination in the Democrat Party. They remove Joe Biden without any similar process. And then in California, they don't even have elections. I mean, there's no such thing like elections in California. They anoint through the elective process that they've created that is so rigged against political opponents that they can't survive. That's what the jungle primary is about. That's what unlimited mail ballot vote gathering is about. It's about power. It's about taking power away from citizens and putting it into the hands of politicians. That's what he likes. Europe is going in that direction right now. That's what he believes in. He wants them to stand up to Donald Trump because he's European. He's not American. Yeah. The Democrat Party's not an American party. Donald Trump's asserting what America is about. For good or bad, however you like it, and disagree, agree. It's about the United States, and I think it ought to be that way because there's no concept of freedom that exists anymore in this world except that which is here, and every once in a while, we were hanging by a thread on it.
Well, let's go to Emmanuel Macron because there's a text message that President Trump put out on Truth Social with Emmanuel Macron. He's just out here posting his text messages. Here is his text message to President Trump. We are totally in line on Syria. We can do great things on Iran. I do understand what you are doing on Greenland. Let's try to build great things. And then he proposed plans for dinner and stuff while they're there at Davos. But here he is on stage going after President Trump. So it seems like he's kind of talking out both sides of his mouth, right? Let's listen to some of this.
We do believe that we need more growth, we need more stability in this world. But we do prefer respect to bullies. We do prefer science to plotism. And we do prefer rule of law to brutality. And when we look at the situation, it's clearly a very concerning time because we are killing the structure where we can fix the situation and the common challenges we have. Without collective governance, cooperation gives way to relentless competition. Competition from the United States of America through trade agreements that undermine our export interests, demand maximum concessions, and openly aim to weaken and subordinate Europe, combined with an endless accumulation of new tariffs that are fundamentally unacceptable, even more so when they are used as leverage against territorial sovereignty.
They're fundamentally unacceptable.
Let's take the term collective governance real quick, and I'll take note of the fact that he's translating. Who knows what he needs? But I've heard this from English speakers as well too. What is collective governance? Well, first of all, you got to ask, how is it collected? And what are the terms within which that collection maintains itself? Does it maintain itself voluntarily amongst those collected who can uncollect themselves if they want? No, the collective governance in his terminology, and certainly in the leftist terminology, is you will do what we say and we're going to order society for you to make sure it happens. And that's socialism. It's fascism, actually, too. So that's World Economic Forum stuff. But let's go a little bit broader here. I wish I didn't know you were going to play the Emmanuel Macron thing, and maybe you have it quickly available. Do you remember the last UN General Assembly? Macron's trying to get a hold of Donald Trump, and he's out there in the streets of New York, and he's trying, and Trump's blowing him off.
Yeah.
The reason. Remember, Emmanuel Macron came to the United States during Trump's first administration to try to praise and applaud the American people, and then he ended up trying to undermine Trump the whole way through. I mean, in the puny way that he really can't all that easily. And there he is. I can't remember all the details of the conversation, but Trump was just kind of blowing him off, honestly, and letting him get stuck on the street there. He was stuck. That's what it was. He was stuck
for his motorcade.
For Trump's motorcade. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
So anyway, Macron is a puny wimp, as are all of the country leaders in Europe. They're puny wimps. I mean, the EU runs things. And these guys just kind of show up and do what they want to do. They have no influence anymore. And we're not trying to weaken Europe. Donald Trump's not trying to bully or weaken Europe. Well, I think he's trying to push back at them. But a weak Europe is not acting in a strong manner. Their weakness is not due to bullying. Their weakness is internal. And that is their problem. Mm-hmm. Greenland, name NATO, Ukraine, name the thing. Europe is weak. It's becoming weaker and weaker by the day because they have abandoned every principle of liberty that they said that they were fighting for in World War I and World War II, and that they said that they would continue through the Cold War. They've totally abandoned every principle of liberty. We still have those principles of liberty if we can hold on to them. And so Donald Trump's doing the right thing. I'm 100% supportive of his pushback against Europe and calling them to account.
Well, let's go to Canada real quick. I guess Mark Carney had some words to say to Greenland and Denmark. Let's see what he had to say.
On Arctic sovereignty, we stand firmly with Greenland and Denmark and fully support their unique right to determine Greenland's future.
All right. So who's a bigger ally to Canada, Denmark or the United States of America? I mean, it's not a very smart decision to pick a side there, is it?
Let's just take note of the fact. Mark Carney has a voice right now on this issue because the World Economic Forum is going on, and there's this quick opportunity when everyone's paying attention to it for him to get his jab in. Other than that, he doesn't matter a hill of beans. 1, 2. If they stand for Denmark's sovereignty and all this kind of stuff, what he's standing for then is China and Russia, which, by the way, he indicates how much he likes China again, too. He was kind of pushing back at one point when having to negotiate with Trump, and he's coming back around to the Trudeau thinking on that and admiring China, just like Pierre Trudeau did. But so Canada's interests are not presently aligned with ours as it relates to Greenland, and they should be because Canada's security is tied to Greenland's security as much as ours is. So Donald Trump is right on the Greenland issue. I just want to make this very clear. He's 100% right. And don't talk about sovereignty of Denmark when it comes to Greenland. Denmark claimed Greenland any much more than we might be trying to claim it. The only difference is Denmark is incapable of securing Greenland. We are. We're totally capable of it. And it's right pretty much on our border. And so there's every reason for the United States to control Greenland by far than for Europe to do it. It provides no special security, nothing to Europe, except the pride of saying we don't want these mean old Americans like Donald Trump, this bully. Okay, well, you better be really tough because there are opponents in the world who want to take you down. And Donald Trump is fighting them. And look what the result is. 8 wars stopped. What have the Europeans done? They haven't done anything. So Donald Trump 1-0 over Carney and Europe.
Yep. Well, let's move on to our daily update on Minnesota politics, I guess. We have the House launches investigation into Ilhan Omar's net worth, which I guess is up to $30 million now. I don't know what it was at when she entered.
Zero.
Yeah.
I mean, pretty much zero before she went to Congress.
Let's watch this news report from Fox real quick, see what they had to say.
Woman Ilhan Omar's net worth went up nearly $30 million. The question is how? Here's what we know. Omar's husband, a former political consultant, owns a venture capital firm based in Washington, D.C. and a winery in California. Take a look at these numbers. In 2023, Omar disclosed a maximum of $50,000 in assets at the winery. The next year, Dana, that number increased to $5 million. Meanwhile, her husband's company, Rose Lake Capital, reported a maximum of $1,000 in assets in 2023. The next year, it was $25 million. Despite that, Omar denied being a millionaire earlier this year, posting on X, quote, "I barely have thousands, let alone millions." House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer tells Fox News an investigation is underway, writing, quote, "The committee is working on addressing ethics concerns regarding Representative Omar and her spouse, and we hope to have an update soon." But Omar says she's being targeted.
Ever since I've gotten to Congress, they have been doing these sort of weird ethics investigations. None of them have yielded anything because I have been as transparent as I can be.
Of course, others see it differently. Elon Musk says Omar committed fraud, while President Donald Trump posted on Truth Social, quote, "She should be in jail or even a worse punishment, sent back to Somalia." Omar authored the Meals Act in 2020, which loosened oversight on food programs during COVID. Federal prosecutors say one of those programs, Feeding Our Future, stole $250 million through fake meal sites. We did reach out to Omar as part of this story, but so far we have not heard back, Dana.
All right, I'm sure they will not hear back from Ilhan.
Well, by the way, she's being targeted because she is, at best, highly morally impure and at worst undertaking criminal behavior. She epitomizes right now. And FYI, she can say, "What, millions? I don't have millions. I haven't got barely $1,000. Well, then why are you reporting it on your disclosure as you're required to do by law? You got the money. Just don't lie to us anymore. There are very real questions about her citizenship and how she came to be a citizen. I think those are actually very serious. I don't want to be willy-nilly about that sort of thing with everybody and make citizenship this thing that once given is questionable. But if there's real fraud involved in it, yeah, it should be investigated and adjudicated. So her targeting is because she put the target on her back because of her immoral behavior. Both her moral behavior in marrying her brother to become a citizen and all that fiasco, and then her immoral behavior since then. She stands up for Somali interests against American interests. She violates her oath to the Constitution in doing that and many other things, and she seeks to undermine the American democracy by destroying it. And we are finding out that there's a potential she's complicit in all the fraud that's taking place in Minnesota right now. That's right there in her district and amongst the community of people that support her the most. So, yeah, you're going to have a target on your back when you're doing immoral things. And so we're going to find out if they're criminal. By the way, I don't ever put a lot. I like James Comer, and I think he's a good guy, and he's going to put a lot into this. But I never hold out a lot of hope for congressional investigations unless there's some way for them to turn into criminal investigations. And if they haven't done the work for that to happen, and or if the Trump administration is not going to follow through on it, then it all becomes a moot point. It just becomes a political thing. And that frustrates me, too. Yeah. Something should be done about Ilhan Omar and many other members of Congress, Republican and Democrat, by the way, who have somehow used their position to enrich themselves. And that should never happen in Congress.
Jim, I think she's being targeted because she's a Somalian, like Don Lemon's being targeted because he's a gay black man.
Oh, man. Yeah. Well, conspicuousness. Targets are conspicuous things. And when you make yourself conspicuous, duh.
Yeah. Well, we got to go to break. We'll be back here in just a moment. Don't go away.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home. Went to bed.
All right, welcome back from the break. Jim, we have some big news for people who are planning on attending Kansas University. They have a new class they can take. The University of Kansas will offer a new course next year titled Angry White Male Studies. The course will examine the rise of angry white male in America and Britain since the 1950s, exploring the deeper sources of this emotional state while evaluating recent manifestations of male anger. Let's listen to this.
Angry White Male Studies is addressing topics right out of our own headlines. New at 6, our Kelly Taylor explains what students think about the topic.
Some students thought it was a joke when they saw Angry White Male Studies in the course catalog, and others weren't surprised at all. Angry White Male Studies is already causing a stir. It's been the talk of social media.
Everyone's just reposting it and asking if it's a joke or not. It's just been on all the Snapchat stories, so it's been big news today.
The class charts the rise of the angry white male in America and Britain since the 1905s, according to the course description. Students will explore the deeper sources of white man anger and evaluate recent manifestations of it. We wanted to know why the college is offering the course and what they'll be covering, but no word back from the professor or KU yet. But some students aren't surprised by the new course.
We have a lot of different classes kind of relating to this that you wouldn't normally think would be at on college campuses.
Others couldn't really put into words what they thought about it, but they did think it could serve a purpose.
It could be a beneficial study, but at the same time, there are other studies that could get to the same root.
I think it'd be interesting, but I don't really know why we have it exactly.
This is like a skit. This is, you would think this is SNL. I mean.
Yeah, you definitely would think it's SNL. Hey, I wonder if this college professor noticed anything that happened in LA last year or going on in Minnesota right now. Did you notice any anger there? I mean, is it like the angry white male? And by the way, I have not seen very many groupings of white males who are expressing their anger in any way. Lastly, didn't we play that clip of that lady that was going after that guy and ultimately got pepper spray on her? Didn't we play that yesterday?
Yeah.
Was she angry? I think she was angry.
I
think she was angry. So here's the problem with anger. It's human. 6,000 years of recorded human history proves the moral corruption of mankind. That's why we have governments, good, bad, indifferent. I mean, it's even though I totally oppose communist governments, the only reason that even communists want to govern is because of the badness of mankind and their ideas, which are false, for dealing with it. The universities would do far better to get back to the very purpose universities were ever created in Western cultures. And that is to inject information to people to help them understand basic cultural norms that began with theological studies. In ancient, I shouldn't say ancient, but in centuries past, when universities started to form, all the way back to Charlemagne and his efforts to create educational structures in society, they wanted to teach theological studies, and they wanted to promote the sciences. So there's a famous saying in the academy that in the history of the academy, that theology was the queen of the sciences and the queen of academic pursuit, and science was her handmaiden. Why is that? Because in Western culture, we knew that God created the universe and designed it for his purposes. We knew we didn't understand fully what that creation was all about. And the sciences came about to try to figure out what it is that is the mind behind God in all that he created, in both physical law and moral and metaphysical law. All that pursuit is the Western pursuit. If we went back to that, we could deal with angry white males, and there are angry white males, but we could also deal with angry black women, angry white women.
Yeah.
The problem of anger is a human one. It's not either race-based or gender-based.
Yeah, and I would love to be a fly on the wall when that study was presented to whoever approves studies and they decided that was a good idea. I mean,
here's a book everyone should read. It's called The Trivium, and it's the liberal arts of logic, grammar, and rhetoric. You know, if we could get back to this group of studies, which formed the foundation for the teaching of the humanities in our educational systems for centuries, if we could get back to that, we could really do well, because people would be able to undertake critical thinking. They would have perspective on the world. And if we taught theological studies again and the foundations of law and theological studies, at least from Aquinas, we would understand the whole root and purpose of Western natural law that brought freedom to human beings, even in this imperfect fallen world. That's my pitch.
Yep. Well, we just have a few more minutes left. Is President Trump supposed to be in Davos today? You know?
I think so. Yeah, I think he's probably traveling there now, but I think it's today, if I remember correctly.
Well, it'll be interesting to see the sound bites coming out from President Trump there. So
it's going to be fantastic. I just want to say I'm totally looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Here is Donald Trump, the least World Economic Forum leader in the world, maybe in world history, showing up at the World Economic Forum as we're having this dispute over Greenland and NATO and other things. It's going to be fabulous. I'm totally looking forward to it.
And seems like he's already revved up. He just put out a True Social here a little while ago. He says, no single person or president has done more for NATO than President Donald J. Trump. If I didn't come along, there would be no NATO right now. It would have been in the ash heap of history. Sad but true. But I think he's trying to send a message here.
I'm all for getting rid of NATO, to be candid, but the reality is he's factually correct.
Yep, and he
actually has made this happen, and the world's a better place because Donald Trump's president right now.
And I guess Scott Bessent is there at the World Economic Forum. And
absolutely.
Here's what he had to say as well this morning.
And just to be clear, that we have Europe buying Russian oil still 4 years later, they are financing the war against themselves. And
yeah, how does that logic work out? I mean, if you're in a war against a country, why are you buying oil from them?
It is for want of this that illogical way of thinking is propagated. We have abandoned rationality in the West. Mm-hmm. We have a relativistic society that promotes the pursuit of power, the pursuit of sex, the pursuit of selfish internal desires as the authoritative force in the universe, as opposed to the moral law of God, which, whether you attribute it to God or not, everyone knows the Ten Commandments matter. And because no one likes to be stolen from, even though they may like to steal. No one wants to be murdered, even though they might murder. No one, we hate our parents anymore. We hate the family. We totally are breaking down because there's no objective reality we're willing to conform to. That's why Europe is doing that. On one hand, we got to support Ukraine, and on another hand, well, we don't want to get our energy from the United States, or we just have to make this deal with the devil with Putin. It's all stupid. There are better ways to do things if you're willing to act rationally and logically. They aren't, because they do not want God's rules and laws to affect them anymore. But that is exactly what Europe did well, and particularly the United States, in submitting itself to God's ways. That's why we have freedom that ever existed in this world, and it will only be maintained if we anchor ourselves to those eternal truths.
Yep. Well, we're all out of time for today. One last point. I guess Putin was just asked about how European leaders will behave with Trump. He said, "You'll see. It will happen quickly soon. They will all stand at the feet of the master and will gently wag their tails. Everything will fall into place." So that's interesting coming from Putin.
Well, he's also doing it to harm Donald Trump and his supposed alignment with him. But
yeah, he's trying to make it seem like they're close. You know,
closer than they actually are. Yeah. They're close enough. I mean, Donald Trump talks to him, but yeah, he's playing the game too.
Well, we're all out of time. We'll be back tomorrow. Until then, take care.
You're watching Worldview 2, built on the 35 years of Worldview books, documentaries, research, high-profile interviews, and the radio and television broadcasts.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work, try to see a doctor this week, or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Go to worldviewhealthcare.com. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. worldviewhealthcare.com. That's worldviewhealthcare.com.
The emergency kit available at worldviewhealthcare.com. Make sure you don't have to go to urgent care. I got pneumonia. I didn't have to go. I took this last year. Stayed at home, went to bed.
Tonight on the Worldview Report, Minneapolis prosecutors face a controversy after a prosecutor's aide tied to a city council member is linked to an anti-ICE protest disruption inside a church service. New York's Attorney General is being accused of criminalizing opposition to Islamic terrorism in a case raising serious free speech and public safety questions. A senior Iranian official is reportedly calling for jihad terror attacks across America as threats toward the U.S. continue to escalate. The Jerusalem Post breaks down